Is going on, grinders? It's Chief. We're in the building. It is another TWT weekend. Taylor, Will, TJ, both Taylors, but we get the abbreviation for TJ's Warch. Welcome to the show, folks. It's the weekend. It's a way smaller slate today than what we had yesterday. By I think about one game, maybe two. Either way, we're going to break this thing down. Taylor, how are you doing, sir?
Good. Glad to be with y'all on a nice Sunday, and looking forward to breaking down the four-gamer. Should be pretty drama-free, I would think.
Let's hope so. TJ is drama-free right now, but there's something brewing in the Zorich household. TJ, what's going on in Saskatoon, my friend?
Oh, not too much. Doing well. Trying to relax, get some rest, as you said before baby gets here. But doing good right now. Life's great. Aside from my NASCAR lineups not doing so great.
Yeah, man, NASCAR. I told you, and this is the one thing about NASCAR that the swings. I mean, I check my lineups like in the middle of the race, or like maybe I don't know, one third, or 1/4 of the race. I mean, TJ, I was on my way to a monster day. I said, obviously this looks good. I said, I know things can change. But based on how I was looking at that time, TJ, in my mind, I said, well, maybe I should at least make some money. I said, if the takedown happens, great. Lo and behold, I go and check, and looks like Mr. McDowell had some car issues. And that has essentially decimated my hopes and dreams, TJ. Now, maybe I get back into the point where I can make some money, but I seriously doubt it here. I don't know how McDowell's going to get back in this thing with car trouble. But anyway, neither here nor there. We are here to talk NBA. Taylor, we'll start with FanDuel. Really small slate today. What are we doing?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of news still outstanding. LeBron and Edwards are both questionable. I don't really think either is at risk of sitting, but it's worth noting. Ditto for Rudy Gobert. He played the last game, so I don't think he'll sit either, but kind of odd. So you never know. We could get more value later, depending on what happens. I think we have one game here at the top of the hour, two the hour after that, and then the Laker game starts 4 hours after lock. So should be a fun one. The last game of the night looks like the best one. Gonna want a lot of exposure to that game. Indiana against the Lakers. So scrolling through it on FanDuel, starting at point guard, TJ McConnell looks like one of the better values on the slate on both sites. He's 5'6" on FanDuel, so not necessarily a punt, but minutes have been there off the bench. He's very good per minute. Obviously, we want exposure to that high total game. Two fast-paced teams going toe-to-toe, so McConnell's a very easy cash play on both sites. Otherwise, Halliburton looks great too. You can play them together in cash since we don't care about negative correlation, that kind of thing. McConnell's price has come down a bit. We've seen him fare a little bit better the last few days, so maybe he's coming out of his slump. Another good way to get exposure to that hammer game. D'Angelo Russell on the other side, same thing, shooting guard, point guard, 7-5 on FanDuel. Pace-up spot for the Lakers. He's been playing well anyway. Still showing a ceiling even with LeBron and AD in. So he looks like a solid kind of mid-range option for cash. Two Heat point guards popping into builds, Terry Rozier and Patty Mills. Both starting again tonight. Patty Mills, not a comfortable value. We saw in the last game, he still has a very low floor, but he's cheap. There's not a lot of cheap stuff on this slate that really stands out. So I think he's okay. That might do it for cash. I think Garland's more of a tournament play on this slate. Shooting guard, Russell, you can play here. Austin Reeves, 6'8" on both sites. So he's a better value on FanDuel because the higher cap over there. Lou Dort, kind of an uncomfortable cheapie. Ditto for Isaac Okoro. Evan Mobley is in again for the Heat for the first time in a while. Okoro, I'm trying to find the lineup as I speak. I don't think he's in it, is he? Have we seen that yet?
Yes, he is. It's hold on, I did see it before. Garland, LeVert, Okoro, Mobley, Allen.
Okay, so Okoro's fine, not a good per minute guy, but again, it's kind of hard to find cheap stuff that we like on this slate, so I think he's okay. LeVert, like you just said, starting playing quite well without Mitchell. High usage rate for him. Don't think he's a bad play, even though the prices have come up a little bit. Sam Merrill's 4-3. He's not a comfortable play either, but he's a punt with a roll off the bench. I think he's okay if you land there. Shifting to forward, Jimmy Butler popping into most lineups at 8.5. Little underpriced around the industry. Usage with Hero out for them. Jaime Jaquez is also out, so the minutes should be quite secure, even though that's the grossest game of the night. With a couple of good defensive teams and a low total, I think Butler's a really good play at 8.5. Andrew Wiggins we'll talk about on this slate. TJ noted pre-show it is a revenge game for him against Minnesota. He's cheap. He's been starting. He has a wide range of outcomes, but I think he's a fine play for cash and tournaments at this price point in the low fives. I mentioned Austin Reeves, Dort, Okoro, Neesmith. Indiana exposure is a good thing tonight. He's 5.4. The minutes are there. Again, not a good per minute guy, but it's kind of the nature of the slate, and I think he's okay for cash. Pascal Siakam I tagged for 8.4. Playing better lately for Indiana, shifting to power forward there. I had LeBron tagged on FanDuel earlier, where he's way cheaper than AD. I think he's still a good cash play if you can get there, but Siakam for a lot less, I think, is probably a more optimal option, given the lack of value on the slate. Mentioned Neesmith. You can play a power forward, Wiggins. That probably does it for forwards. And then at center, Gobert, 8K flat is fine if he's in, which I assume he will be. Otherwise, Bam Adebayo, Chet Holmgren, Miles Turner, all fine mid-range plays. Not a great center slate, but I think you're paying up for one of them tonight.
All right, that wraps up FanDuel Cash. TJ, FanDuel Tournaments, take it away.
So one thing I'm doing today on this slate is making a rule that I want to have at least 2 Pacers in every lineup and at least 1 Laker in every lineup. That is by far the best game to stack, in my opinion. I think the field will be heaviest on it too, but I want to be even heavier. And so starting at the point guard position, Tyrese Halliburton, D'Angelo Russell, and TJ McConnell will all be 3 of my highest owned players on the slate. But I also do want to mix in some Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because the fact that he's only projecting for 5% ownership on only a 4-game slate, when he's actually in a great spot facing a very weak Milwaukee backcourt in terms of defense, I think SGA makes for a great tournament spend up today. Darius Garland, somewhat interesting. And then if you need it, Patty Mills at 3,800, I think, is even in play as a salary saver here as well. Shooting guard position, Anthony Edwards, I think, is a great play for tournaments. D'Angelo Russell is my favorite. Karis LeVert, totally fine as well. Austin Reeves, I don't mind here. That's mostly the range I'm looking to stick, though. These top 4 guys are definitely the ones I want the most on FanDuel. Jalen Williams, a little expensive here. Okoro, Dort, Nemard, you never really get ceiling games for these guys. And so I would much rather just stick with the top tier. Or Brandon Podziemski is a guy that I really always like getting to for tournaments, especially when he's still under 6K. He never projects all that well, but he does always have a very high ceiling. And so Podziemski is somebody I like at very low ownership today. Maybe as a pivot off of somebody like Andrew Wiggins, who we're going to get a lot of ownership here. Having said that, I do like Wiggins at this spot too. Austin Reeves, small forward, I like quite a bit. Karis LeVert, I don't mind getting to him below 8K. Jaden McDaniels at 5,400 is a play I like quite a bit. And then Jonathan Kuminga at 7,100, I think, is totally viable from a tournament perspective. Power forward, Pascal Siakam is my favorite on the slate at power forward, and one of my favorite plays just overall at any position. My next favorite here, I guess, is probably Wiggins. If you can get up to Giannis, sub 10% ownership. Anthony Davis still pretty low too, based on just because of how expensive he is. Both of them are phenomenal options. I feel a little more comfortable with AD, but I think Giannis is great as well, and he's going to be even lower owned today. If you happen to get Gobert out, Naz Reid is probably the best play on the slate. Even if you get Gobert in, I think Reid still is somewhat viable. But that's about it. It's really just a gross slate today. There's not that many options we're feeling super comfortable about. Center position, Gobert is fine. Anthony Davis, if you can get up to him, is great. I like Chet Holmgren as a pivot off of Gobert today. Miles Turner, I think, as well, is a really strong tournament play. Racks up a lot of blocks. And then Jalen Smith, if you need a cheap option, projecting for sub 10% ownership. I think he or Brook Lopez, if you want to get difference and save salary, those are the two best options.
Man, here's the Brook Lopez talk. That's how you know this slate is what it is today. I think I was telling Taylor earlier, I like this slate and I hate it at the same time. It's a super weird slate. We're going to head over to DraftKings, Taylor, and let's talk about any differences you may have, which I know there probably won't be many. The slate's so small. But let's go through some DraftKings, and then we'll get the tournaments and get to some of these questions for these fine folks.
Yeah, there's not a lot of different stuff. DK has a few more like true punts you can consider. I don't know if it's cash viable, but some guys I was getting to was were DeLon Wright and Obi Toppin, just because they're cheap, like near min salary. Both have roles. I don't think you do that in cash, but maybe more of a tournament thing. As for cash, McConnell 4-5, mentioned him on FanDuel. Obvious play on DK2 off the bench. Karis LeVert, we mentioned, is starting 7-3 on DK, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Easy to get to him. D'Lo and Halliburton in that late game look great. Nembhard is a guy I don't think I mentioned on FanDuel on DK. He's cheap like McConnell. Not good per minute, but starting with a path to 30-plus minutes with Mathurin out for the year. So I think that's okay for cash. Another potential Indiana punt is Ben Shepherd. Point guard, shooting guard eligible. He's got to roll off the bench. It's not comfortable stuff, but it's kind of the nature of the slate and what we have to do. And I think Shepherd is okay if you land there. It's kind of like Patty Mills, Sam Merrill, that kind of stuff we're talking about, shooting guard, point guard. It's pretty ugly down there. Nembhard, McConnell is kind of where I prefer to live. If you can stay there, I think that's fine. Neesmith, point guard, shooting guard, small forward eligible. Looks pretty good on this slate too. Not a high upside guy, but we have seen a few good games out of him. Good matchup, good game environment, and all that. Probably want to get to Neesmith in cash just because I think he'll be highly owned, and he's a solid value anyway. Anthony Edwards, maybe, but probably not for cash on this slate. Moving to forward, Jimmy Butler and Jaden McDaniels, a couple of small forward only plays that look decent on this slate. Butler under 8K on DK. Kind of a standout for me tonight. Siakam, I mentioned I tagged him. Shooting guard, small forward, power forward. I cannot speak today. 8K flat, been playing really well lately. Awesome game environment, as we've been harping on quite a bit. Definitely playing him in cash on this slate on DK. Yeah, that's kind of it. Butler, McDaniel, Siakam, and Neesmith. I think that's your small forward pool for cash on DK. Power forward, Jalen Smith. I think TJ mentioned him before on FanDuel, but cheap and playing a role off the bench. He's kind of the center version of TJ McConnell. Power forward center eligibility makes him handy to get to on this slate. I think he's fine. He DNP'd a couple games ago, but I guess that was like a hometown narrative thing for Isaiah Jackson. So I guess it's not impossible that he will not play tonight, but I'm just going to play him and hope for the best. I think he's a good play. I mentioned Toppin. Don't really want to go there. Don't really want to go to Jovic. I think, is Jovic starting too? He's another Heat guy that should have a role with Jaquez out. Maybe the minutes come up a little bit. So he's okay. Don't really want to land there, but it's fine. And at center, Trace Jackson Davis is a guy I didn't mention on FanDuel. He's really cheap on DK. I think he's 5K flat. Playing a role off the bench for Golden State. They'll need some size in this one against Gobert, assuming Gobert plays with Naz Reid at power forward like they did in the last game. Golden State doesn't really have a lot of size, so I think Jackson Davis could be in line for a few more minutes. I think he's fine for cash. I mentioned Gobert on FanDuel, good on DK at 7.5, again, assuming he plays. Jalen Smith, Chet Holmgren, Miles Turner, all viable for cash too. I think the optimal pairing is probably Jackson Davis and Gobert. If you want to go double center, I think that's viable tonight.
All right. Sounds good, Taylor. TJD and Gobert, optimal center pair. You heard it here first, folks. Now, if that doesn't win, don't blame Taylor. Blame the players, not us. I'm just kidding. TJ, over to you. What are we doing in terms of DraftKings?
Yeah, so I kept a oh dang, the lineups disappeared. Like I was
Well,
gonna
you
just
didn't keep
show off.
anything. It looks like. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was planning on just showing those off, but apparently not. So TJ McConnell is my highest owned player at the point guard position today. I have him in 95% of lineups. Every lineup of my 20 except for one has TJ McConnell in it. D'Angelo Russell, Tyrese Halliburton, 2 and 3 for me. After that, Brandon Podziemski, Austin Reeves, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Josh Giddey. Not super comfortable with all of those guys, but it's a pretty good matchup for OKC. And then Podziemski is just a guy I always like getting to in tournaments, especially on a small slate. Final guy I'd want to throw in there is Karis LeVert. Don't mind him as well. Shooting guard position, a few of the same names. I like getting to Podsy. I like getting to Reeves and Josh Giddey. Aaron Nesmith, Patty Mills, less comfortable with them. I don't know how big of ceilings they have, but they kind of just fill some last spots. Klay Thompson and Terry Rozier are guys that they have ceilings if they get hot, so I like having them in the pool, but I never feel super confident about them. And then Anthony Edwards, I do like for tournaments. He has the Q tag. Hopefully that'll keep his ownership low, but we know he's usually playing through these. Small forward is probably where I'm getting the most different, and it's still not super different, but my two highest owned guys are Jaden McDaniels and Andrew Wiggins, all the way down here at a projection of 12% ownership on DraftKings today. I would love to be getting more Siakam, but as it stands, I'm only getting about 35% right now. I would love to bump that up to about 50 because he's probably my favorite play on the slate. LeBron James, I'm getting a 20% of, and then a little bit of Jimmy Butler, a little bit of Chris Middleton as well, as he's been bumped up to about 30 minutes. Jalen Smith, it doesn't feel good, but I have about 60% of him. So Smith, Wiggins, Siakam, and Davis are occupying almost all of my power forward positions. But I'm still getting about 15% Giannis, 15% Draymond, 15% Jalen Green, and then a little bit of Nas, a little bit of Kuminga. At the center position, a lot of Gobert, which will obviously swap to Nas if Gobert is out. Jalen Smith, Trace Jackson Davis, Brooke Lopez, who we mentioned on FanDuel, still getting him on DraftKings, as well as Miles Turner and Chet Holmgren. The one player I'm throwing in there just a little bit, Squirrel likes to call him his favorite GPP play that might not even see the court. For me today, that's Isaiah Jackson. They're facing Anthony Davis on the other side of things. Jalen Smith is going to be chalky. If he and or Miles Turner get in foul trouble, Isaiah Jackson's going to have to kind of be the next man up. Every now and then, they also just do some random stuff where Isaiah Jackson's in there instead of Jalen Smith. And, because I have 70 or 60, whatever it is, percent Jalen Smith, I want a little bit of a hedge there. And Isaiah Jackson's a guy that if this turns into a blowout or something, he gets 15 minutes. That could actually be 28 fantasy points.
Absolutely, man. I think that's a good call. Once again, I think that the caveat is Jackson may or may not see the floor. And I think you live with, those results. In the end, folks, what we're talking about. You need to get the combo pass. If you don't have the combo pass, why don't you have the combo pass? If you don't, you can get the 3-day combo pass for a test run, 3-day trial pass. You get access to every sport except NASCAR at the low price of $19.99. There's never been a better time to join the community. Find the 3-day trial link in the description below. If you don't have the combo, you need to get SimLabs. Well, how are you going to get SimLabs? You need to get the pass. But anyway, SimLabs is our expert DFS lineup generation tool. We're giving you hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest you're playing. Run out of time before lock. Quickly build a set of lineups to fill out your entries. Want to see who might be falling under the radar? Use the tool to examine players the field might be sleeping on. Note, all Combo and NBA subscribers already have access to NBA SimLabs. And if you're not into traditional DFS as much as you used to be, hop into the props and pick 'em package, folks. You can check that out. You're using the RG projections. You're using our team. They're combing through the premium stats for you, looking for marketing efficiencies. You can use our model, easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely that prop will hit based on our. You can also try out the props and pick 'em package for a 3-day pass. This is going to auto-renew. Note, this is going to auto-renew at the monthly rate once the 3 days are up. Use the link in the description for that 3-day pass. Folks, we're down to questions. We've got about 10 minutes. I have saved the lineup on FanDuel tonight. Taylor, TJ, this is not the lineup that I thought I would end up with. I do think it's the best option, though. If we have time, I will discuss how I'm approaching this slate with you guys and get your feedback. In terms of the questions, we've got one. I'm going to work them backwards here. Looks like we've got Bloodhole Jenkins says Miles Turner birthday narrative. Question mark. TJ.
Don't really care though. It's his birthday. I typically I don't factor that in even a little bit, but if I were to, I would typically view that as more of a negative than a positive. It probably means, their head's not as much in the game. Maybe they're partying the night before. So I don't care about that, but I do think Miles Turner is good for tournaments.
Okay, coming back up. We're in the YouTube chat right now. I will hop in the live stream chat shortly. This is coming from Flying Armbar. CP3 or TJ McConnell on FanDuel for GPP. TJ.
McConnell.
All right, Taylor, favorite cheapish center on FanDuel.
Cheap-ish. Got to be Jalen Smith, I guess. There's not much down there, honestly.
Yeah, probably so. Taylor, let's keep it with you here. Draymond or Kuminga on FanDuel?
I think Draymond. Kuminga is pretty scoring dependent and doesn't really have the highest floor.
Okay. TJ, is slow-mo in play on FanDuel?
I think if Gobert or Edwards were out, yes, but if they're both in, no.
Okay, good. TJ, sticking with you here. Do you think anyone in the first game is a high priority for FanDuel tournaments?
No, I think LeVert and Butler are both very viable, but I don't think either are high priorities.
Okay. Coming from George Masgalas, FanDuel tournament, LeBron and Miles Turner or AD and Neesmith? TJ.
First one.
All right.
LeBron
Taylor,
and Miles Turner. Yeah, LeBron and Miles Turner.
Best value play for DK Cash.
McConnell. It's going to be an Indiana guy. McConnell, Neesmith, probably those two would be the ones that stand out the most.
Okay. Coming from Travis Lehman, Caleb Martin is back, 5,100 on FanDuel. How do you feel about that, Taylor?
Not loving it. What do we have him at? 28 minutes. He's okay, but I don't know if he's guaranteed to get a ton of playing time, even with the injuries.
Deshaun Page just asked, Bam double-double. Possible. I don't know though. Bam isn't as high as a rebounder as his numbers have been lately. He's gonna have to
We have him projected for one right now. It's 17 points and 10.75 rebounds.
I get it. I'm just being the devil's advocate here. Projections say do it. I say find a better angle. You might come out better with the rebound prop or a point prop versus the double-double, in my opinion, today. The product playbook, Allen under 2.5 assists. Let's ask DFS questions primarily right now, and then let's put the props at the end, because the props you can get in DFS, we're going to lock at 7. Well, for some of those, we're going to lock at 7 o'clock. David Kelly, where should you go cheap at on FanDuel? Taylor.
Which position?
I guess that's what he's asking. Yeah.
I think shooting guard and small forward are probably the positions you want to save at, like Neesmith, Wiggins, Nembhard, guys like that are viable. Don't really want to go cheap at center, though. I did say Jalen Smith is okay if you land there. Shooting guard, small forward is probably the value spot.
Okay, we are in the live stream chat now. QQ, DK, GPP. Favorite utility, 4,800 or less. Already has McDaniels.
TJ McConnell.
Okay, FanDuel, pay up for Shy or play Hallie? TJ.
I mean, Halliburton is a better point per dollar play, but if you want to get different, the rest of your lineup is somewhat chalky. SGA is going to be very low owned, and he's in a good spot.
Okay. Taylor, this from a side 12. Thoughts on Jovic in FanDuel Cash?
Jovic is fine just because the other value is not amazing either. So I think that's okay if you land there.
Yeah, FanDuel, Scary Terry, or Patty Mills salary difference. I guess he's trying to decide if he wants to just play one or either, and then he'll make a lineup decision based on who he plays. Taylor, what are your thoughts?
I guess Mills is okay. Like I said, the value is really gross, so it's viable. I'm not super into Rozier, so yeah, I guess Mills is where I land. I don't fully understand the question, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. No more in the live stream chat right now. We are back in the YouTube chat. I think somebody asked, "Are we playing Patty Mills?" I think we are. We are playing Patty Mills. DKGPP, Brandon Wilcox.
Reluctantly playing Patty Mills.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get to it very much, but
yeah. DKGPP, Rozier or Reeves? TJ.
Reeves.
All right, this is for you, Taylor. Siakam with James or AD on DK Cash?
AD slightly for me.
Okay. King Dash, Pat Connaughton viable on FanDuel?
No.
Yeah, I already did that one. Are there any must starts in this first game for DK? Taylor.
No, I don't think so. Jimmy Butler is probably the closest thing, but not a must.
Okay, if already playing Ant, do you fade Gobert? TJ.
No, you can play them both together.
Okay, those are all the questions that we have so far. So here's my question. Here's my question for you guys. And you can both answer unless we get some more questions. So on FanDuel, when I look over the slate, if you play any of the big spins, and I mean any of them, like you have to start playing like what I consider 2 to 3 bad players today. Like it's like you have to. Like if you play AD, or if you play Shy, or if you play Giannis, like if you play one of those big three today, or Anthony Edwards, like you have to play 2 to 3 guys that you're very uncomfortable with. I say very as a stretch. How do you guys feel about eliminating all of the big three with their upside and sticking with everybody in the mid 9K and under to get better players across the board rather than stretching for like 2 or 3? I'd rather stretch for 1 than like 3. What are you guys' thoughts?
I have no issue building lineups with Halliburton as my most expensive guy. And even going beyond that, I don't think it's crazy to have like Pascal Siakam as your most expensive guy. Just live in that 5 to 8K range in your entire lineup. And that is where most of the best values on the slate are.
Taylor?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was going to say about Siakam. I think you could kind of anchor him as your stud or whatever. And then you can build with like Gobert. Andrew Wiggins and McConnell in the mid-range look okay enough. Like they're not total bargain bin dumpster diving with those guys. So I think that's fine. Just to avoid the Patty Millses and, Isaac Okoros of the world. I think that's totally fine tonight.
Yeah, when I was building, I was trying to get AD today. Like I thought when I started today, it was going to be AD. Daryl George comes in right under the buzzer. Daryl, happy Sunday, all the way from South Carolina. Yahoo single entry cash, SGA or AD. I'm assuming we're going to go AD there.
Yeah,
AD
for sure.
When I was building, I'm just doing single entry today. All right, Angel Amaro, right before the buzzer here. Halliburton or Shy for FanDuel GPP?
Point per dollar, again, it's Halliburton, but they're not exactly the same price. So if you want to spend up to get different SGA, nobody's going to be playing them.
Okay. And that should be it. If anybody else gets any questions in, you are most likely going to hit lock. Because I don't see any more questions. But I ended up living in the mid-range on FanDuel for what it's worth. Now that we fit lock. I was trying to make it work, man. I just had too many players I just did not like. I was like, oh, God. Like every time I was clicking the button, I was like, ooh. It's like, I can't do this.
I did the opposite on DK, at least. I did kind of a dumpster dive on DK with like DeLon Wright and Obi Toppin. So it's gonna be awesome.
Gosh, good luck.
Good luck to us all and everybody watching.
Good luck, Taylor. On DraftKings though, it's a lot easier to get away with them when they're like 3K and they get you 15 fantasy points. Like you can still squeeze out a tournament win on a slate of this size with these types of players. So listen, if Taylor takes this thing down tonight, you got the formula here first, folks. He's already told you what to do. At any rate, I think we're good. You've had another TWT. Oh, you know what? Sheraton Cowboy, I will give you some props. He comes in after lock and asks for the props. I'm going to give you some. I've got Bam Adebayo. I'm actually taking him under 10.5 rebounds. That's why I was so against the double-double prop today. I got him less than 10.5. I've actually got Steph Curry less than 4.5 threes. I've got Kuminga less than 5.5 rebounds. Neesmith less than 4.5 rebounds. Jalen Williams from OKC less than 4.5 assists. Those are my props from today. This has been a TWT weekend. We're not sure if TJ is going to be here next weekend. I think the rest of us will be. So next weekend, it may in fact be a Tim, Will, and Taylor TWT special. Not sure. We'll have to find out. I'm Chief. That's Taylor. That's TJ. Baby on the way. We'll see you next week.